This is the Nightwolf, howling at you, and today we're going to show that I am apparently a damn dirty liar again, because we are looking at another Masters of the Universe Chronicles figure. And I believe when I did the one for Scareglow, I said I probably wouldn't be buying a whole lot of these, and so far I've been buying all of them, that I find at any rate. Because I have that 2-pack from Amazon too, sitting on the counter. So, today though, we are going to look at He-Man. I found him in the wild. It's the only time I've seen him in the wild, even though I have seen both Man-at-Arms and Cyclops at stores, but I've only seen the He-Man once so far. So at the front of the box, we do see the He-Man figure here. Now, Ken from Retro Troy Escapades did post on Instagram that he got one of these and it did not have the cross on it. So he was wondering if that's some kind of a chase figure thing, and I don't know, this is the only He-Man I've seen, but I had thought that he was missing the cross on the box art as well in the post, but looking at the picture on this box, I'm just going to straight out say, kind of looks like it's not there or there, depending upon what angle you're looking at it at. So there's that. But when we turn the box sideways, we just see He-Man versus Skeletor, which, by the way, this design seems to be going for all the figures. Although, you know what? I didn't really take a good look at Triclops's. I think I called him Cyclops earlier too, didn't I? Triclops' box to see if it's different there. But on the Ram Man Fisto 2-pack, it shows them going up against Skeletor like this with the sword in the middle. I'm going to straight out say I'm not a big fan of this design for the artwork either. The other side is just basically a headshot of He-Man getting ready to punch. Looks like the same image on the side, really. And on the back of the box here, we have the product shots that we usually get. He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. After uncovering the power sword, Prince Adam transforms into He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. The champion of Castle Grayskull returns to Eternia to free his people from the evil clutches of Skeletor. That's weird. Also, as part of this wave, we have He-Man, Man-at-Arms, and Triclops. So let's go ahead and open this sucker up, shall we? On the side of the box, we see the contents, which are just He-Man, a set of punching fists, and his sword. No shield or battle axe with this guy. So I just want to check something out here. I just want to see if He-Man's little logo comes off. So it does not appear to just come off. I believe somebody had mentioned that they saw a scene where Skeletor pulls it off, which I don't remember seeing. But it does not appear to be made to come out. So Ken's version could potentially be a chase figure or a screw-up. Which honestly, if it's a screw-up, I think it's more valuable than a chase figure. That being said, let's take a look at our He-Man here. Or should we look at the sword first? Let's look at the sword first, because this is the new design for the Power Sword in this show. It is definitely based more on the original Filmation cartoon version, although not quite as curvy, and the blade definitely is longer. Honestly, I do kind of like this version. I'm not going to spend the nearly $1,000 to get the replica from... Wow, I can't remember the name of the company is that made the replicas. Because I have the Skeletor sword and I have the He-Man sword that they made, and those were both very nice, right? And I liked them. And then the She-Ra sword, as you might recall from my video that I did a while ago. I think I did 2 of them, didn't I? Talking about how bad the She-Ra sword was and how they f***ed it up. No quality control. So I'm not going to risk a $900 purchase or nearly $1,000 or whatever the price it was to get the movie replica and have to worry about if it's going to be a piece of crap. All right. So... one thing I want to point out right away is He-Man's sheath on the back. Now, with the Origins figure, I noticed this too, where the sword just kind of slides in there and it's not a full sheath. Stays in there pretty well, although, man, this He-Man's waist is really loose, as is his boob cut. But yeah, so it's kind of a different sheath, and I'm guessing since this is the design that's been used on both figures, that this must be very much what's happening in the movie. It must look like that too, which, honestly, if you've ever watched videos where, like, who is it? Shadyology? Where he actually showed trying to put a sword and a scabbard on your back and how difficult it actually is, I can understand why this design would be better to have. So the head sculpt on this version of He-Man looks pretty good too. I think it more or less matches the actor's head, face, however you want to put it. And it's one of those ones where they went to try to make it realistic, but didn't screw it up like so many other companies do when they try to make a realistic head, and it just looks really awful. And our side profile looks good too. Yeah, the head sculpt actually turned out really well on this figure. Just gonna straight out say it. It looks really good to me. Now the box shows him actually really being able to hold that sword upright, so let's go ahead and try that real quick before we start going into the main articulation. Oh, I'm not very happy though with those cuts there. Oh shoot. Or is it up a little bit right there? That looks to be about pretty close to how they have it on the box. So, yeah, remember when we looked at the King Greyskull and the hands have that kind of like double ball joint thing that allows you to switch whether you want in and out articulation or up and down, or some weird angle like this hand is because it's really weirdly positioned. That's what's going on here. And it does actually work out pretty well, honestly. That being said, let's go over his articulation now. Obviously, I don't normally start with this, but obviously the boob cut does move left and right. You can actually bend back quite a bit with it and a little bit forward, but not much. And then the waist also is articulated. And again, these joints are super loose on this figure. I did not have this kind of a problem, I don't believe, with King Greyskull or Scareglow. So this is probably just a problem with this figure itself, mine, but I don't know. And if you guys have gotten one, and let me know if you've had this problem, or if you get one after watching this and you have this problem. So his head is on a ball joint, can kind of look down and up, sideways, over. The neck is also on a ball joint, and it's really creepy the way it moves. Not a pleasant look, honestly, and kind of deep there. Let's take his harness off. Take a look at see again how loose that is. It's kind of some interesting musculature here. Oddly, this reminds me of women with large breasts wear a shirt that kind of crosses over the breasts here with the way they did this. It just looks kind of weird to me. Again, the neck there has its own little peg, and it moves funky. I don't like it. It's creepy. The harness itself is not quite as thick as the one that came with our Origins version. So it actually looks nicer to me. The peg version of these harnesses does actually work nicer to hold in place the stuff than the belted versions like the original Origin stuff did. But man, it's more of a pain in the ass to put together. Alright, since this is Chronicles, we now have a butterfly joint. In the butterfly joint, it's up and down and forwards and back. Bicep cut still. Although that is moving the entire shoulder piece. Hand can, of course, spin all around as we see before. And hinge outward. We have a double jointed elbow. Although, because of the arm piece here, it does not quite go all the way up as tightly as previous figures have done. Let's find out. He has a skinny ass wrist here, doesn't he? The bracer does come off, obviously. And I would probably recommend keeping it on because that looks really extra creepy there. This would also be like, if you guys can take a better look at this, that kind of ball joint that they have in here. So that's where all the articulation is on the wrist. And then it's the same on the other side. So that's why you can kind of modify the direction, whether you want up or down. So we're going to keep his right hand up so that maybe we can put his magic sword aloft again. Obviously, again, you can swivel at the boob cut, really loose on this figure. Swivel at the waist, also extremely loose on this figure. Enough that you can see the crack in between, which is something you don't usually see in a lot of these figures. His loincloth, I think, is attached to the belt because I cannot get it to shift off of it, or on the diaper. They did not make the underbit furry, though, so that's kind of a shame. And he is wearing a leather kilt, I will call it. We have slices here so that he can kick forward. And backwards. Again, we have a joint here. It is a ball joint. That only gives us this much movement in the thigh because they did remove the thigh cut from this figure. They added the ball joints to the wrists and the ankles. Or the ball pins. I guess I'll just call it a ball pin joint. And they removed the thigh articulation, which sucks. So we do have the double jointed knee still. We do have a twist at the boot. And of course you can hinge the foot on its ball joint thing right there. And you can spin it on the peg that's there. And then of course that screws up everything because, you know, why not? So then you have to try to figure out how to get that all back into position properly. Again, he comes with fists. I'm not a big fan of the fists. They didn't do much paint detail, though, on the boots here. Like, we have a lot of gold highlighting on the kilt. We have silver and gold on the arm bracers. Well, silver and gold, obviously, on the harness. With the slightly translucent red cross. But then they decided not to do any real detailing on the boots, aside from a little bit of a dark wash or dry wash on it to sort of bring out the details. So let's bring out his battle cat minus the helmet because I hate that helmet. Look how huge this is, honestly. You know, it's kind of funny because I just never noticed a big difference between like the Masterverse and the battle cat with Masterverse. But with this one, I don't know if it's just because of the design, but he looked absolutely huge compared to He-Man. And like, because if you remember watching the old cartoon, like, Battle Cat wasn't taller than a horse. Like, he was much lower down, and He-Man could really just, like, kind of, like, quickly get on him. This one looks like it'd take a little bit of work. But that being said, let's see how our Chronicles He-Man fits on our Chronicles Battle Cat. And this is where the kilt comes into annoyance. Because the front of the kilt obviously causes problems with having him sit on the saddle. You can kind of lift it up. But you know, this is going to be a display issue too at some point because you're not going to want to have that kilt up like that all the time because then plastic is going to get stuck like that. There's not a whole lot of stabilization in here. But you know, I guess aside from the obvious problems, it's not bad, honestly. So overall on the Chronicles version of this He-Man, I think the figure itself looks great. I hope the problems I'm having with the loose boob cut and waist are just this figure specifically, this one that I have, and not throughout the entire line. But if you have picked him up, please let me know if you do have the same problem. I also just want to let you guys know that at the time that I'm recording this, I have not seen the movie. But by the time you guys are watching this, I'll probably have seen the movie. Because this is being recorded probably about 2 weeks before it's going to be put up to watch. So actually, it'll probably come up the week after I see the movie. Which hopefully I'll have already posted videos talking about the movie. Haha. Apparently also, for some reason, I don't know how it looks to you guys, but Battle Cat looks a bit drunk with the way I have him standing there. My bad. But as far as these figures go, I do think that this He-Man looks great. I do have the 2-pack of Ram Man and Fisto that I will review eventually. I have not picked up Triclops or Man-at-Arms yet. I will probably get them at some point. You know I'm going to pick up Tila as soon as I find her available to get. That might happen before those other two. Because honestly, depending upon how this movie does, I think will depend upon how well these toys sell. And if the movie doesn't do good, well, if the movie doesn't do good, I might not even bother collecting the rest of the series, to be honest with you. But they will probably go on clearance real quick if it doesn't do well. You know what I mean? I don't know how well these toys are selling in general right now either. He-Man was hard to find, and I've seen both Triclops and Man-at-Arms a couple times before I finally saw He-Man. So there is at least that. People are buying the He-Man himself. But I am curious as to what you think about this figure and if you're thinking about buying him or not. And you know what? I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about what you're thinking about the movie. Or, I guess at this point, what you thought of the movie when you finally see it. But I hope you enjoyed this look at our Masters of the Universe Chronicles movie He-Man figure. And if you enjoyed it, please feel free to smash that like button. And if you want to hear more of my nonsense in the future, you can subscribe. Perhaps you might even want to tickle that notification bell. I thank you for watching. Peace and love.